Hey guys, welcome back to Anime Gossips. This is my recap for the anime Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. The story begins with a beautiful girl entering a school. As she walks in, all the students start greeting her, and some wonder if she is Alya. However, Alya ignores them and keeps walking. Then a handsome boy steps in front of her and says good morning. This time Alya replies with good morning. The boy introduces himself as Ando from the second year. He tells Alya that he heard a lot about her from her sister, so he has always wanted to meet her. He then asks if she would like to have lunch with him, but Alya quickly denies it. Ando laughs in shock and then asks if they can exchange phone numbers. But Alya responds that she's not interested in him. Ando is shocked, and his phone drops from his hand. As Alya walks away, she warns Ando that the necklace he's wearing is against the school rules. Everyone watches in shock since Ando is very popular among girls, but Alya rejected him so quickly. After that, Alya reaches her classroom and notices Kuze sleeping. She greets him with good morning, but when he does not reply, she kicks the table and wakes him up. Then Alya says good morning again and asks if he stayed up late last night watching anime. Kuze replies with good morning and admits that he did stay up late as he was watching anime until 1 am. He also mentions that he ended up discussing the anime's feedback for too long. Alya thinks he never learns from his mistakes, as he often sacrifices his sleep just to watch anime. Alya wonders if Kuze meant sharing feedback online, but Kuze shakes his head and says he called his otaku friends and chatted for 2 hours about the anime. Hearing this, Alya asks if he's a fool. Kuze confidently replies that maybe he is a fool for expressing his love for something he enjoys. Alya then apologizes but calls him a hopeless fool. Then Kuze compliments Alya, saying that she looks great today. Then he yawns, and when Alya looks at him, she calls him cute in Russian. He gives her a surprised look, and she asks, "What?" Kuze pretends not to know what she said and asks if she said something. To cover up, Alya says that she said he looks ugly. After that, Kuze asks Alya if he can take a look at her chemistry textbook. Alya wonders if he forgot his book again, and when he admits it, she agrees. Then Kuze moves his bench closer to Alya's. While the teacher is teaching, Kuze starts feeling sleepy. Suddenly, Alya hits him with her pen, which wakes him up in shock, and he raises his hand. The teacher misunderstands and asks Kuze to answer the question. Kuze stands up and tries to figure out what question they're on. And then he sees Alya pointing at something in her book. He quickly gives the answer, but the teacher says it's wrong. The teacher then asks Alya if she knows the answer, and Alya stands up and gives the correct one, which surprises Kuze. Then Kuze asks Alya not to give him the wrong answer again. But Alya replies that she was just pointing out the question, not the answer. Kuze reminds her that she was clearly pointing to number 2, but Alya denies it, calling it an awful accusation and giving a teasing laugh. Seeing this, Kuze angrily says that her eyes are smiling. Then Alya calls him cute in Russian again, which shocks Kuze, and he asks what she said. To cover up, Alya says she called him a fool. Alya calls him cute in Russian once more, and Kuze starts wondering why she keeps saying the same thing, and whether she even knows that he understands everything she's saying. Alya then says in Russian that he's blushing like a baby, and Kuze wonders who the baby is here. After that, Kuze remembers that he used to play with a Russian girl who lived near his grandpa's house, and that's how he learned enough Russian to understand most of it. However, he never expected to meet someone like Alya, the Russian beauty who sits next to him in class. He thinks that if he reveals to Alya that he understands Russian, she might faint from surprise, so he decides to keep it a secret. When the lecture ends, Kuze takes out his phone, but Alya reminds him that phones are only allowed in school for emergencies and educational purposes. He replies that he has an emergency. Alya asks what the emergency is. Kuze explains that the free card draw in his game will end in 10 minutes. Alya is surprised and asks how he dared to say that in front of a student council member. But then, Kuze suddenly gets excited and explains that the rare SSR Tsukuyomi card is available. Alya quickly snatches his phone to take a look. After seeing it, Alya asks if Tsukuyomi is the moon god in Japanese mythology and wonders why the character has silver hair instead of black. Kuze thinks maybe it's to match the moon. He then tells Alya not to worry about the details because Tsukuyomi is cute after all. Alya angrily hands his phone back, and then says in Russian that she also has silver hair and calls him a playboy. Kuze is shocked and asks what she just said. Alya covers up by saying she called him a game loser. Kuze tells her that it's rude to call him a game loser, especially after he spends so much money on games. Alya agrees and says she doesn't think anyone would want to be compared to him, which Kuze finds very harsh. In the cafeteria, Takeshi suddenly shouts that he wants to be popular. Then, another boy asks Kuze what he's eating. Kuze replies that it's extra spicy Mappo ramen. Suddenly, they notice that members of the student council Alisa, Maria, and Yuki are there. Kuze's friend says that Maria and the others are really beautiful. Takeshi agrees and says that Maria is beautiful and that he wants to get to know her. But Kuze jokes that even if she didn't have a boyfriend, Takeshi still wouldn't have a chance. After hearing this, Takeshi asks Kuze to shut up and not get cocky just because Alya is his friend. Takeshi is jealous that Kuze gets to call Alya by a nickname, but Kuze replies that all he does is annoy her. However, Takeshi still thinks it's great because Alya does not talk to anyone else. Meanwhile, Suo is looking for a place to sit and notices Kuze. So she goes to his table and asks if she can sit there. Kuze says he doesn't mind, and he asks his friends if they mind, and they agree too. Then Suo and Alya sit with them to have lunch. Suo notices that Kuze ordered the same thing as her. Takeshi is surprised and says he didn't know that Suo ate that kind of food. Suo replies that she does and mentions that she often goes out to eat ramen on weekends. After taking a bite, Suo finds the ramen delicious, but thinks it could be spicier. Kuze agrees and says it would be perfect with some chili oil. Then Suo jokes that they could bring up the topic of chili oil at the next student council meeting, but Kuze wonders how she can mix personal and public matters like that. Suo then says she is just kidding. Alya sees their interaction and asks if they are close. Suo tells her that she and Kuze are childhood friends and have been going to the same school since kindergarten. Then Kuze asks Suo if she and Alya are close. Suo replies that they are getting to know each other and then mentions that she wants to become friends with Alya. However, Alya says that if they became friends, Suo might not have fun. Suo then asks Alya if she would mind becoming her friend, and Alya replies that she doesn't mind. After that, Takeshi and the other friend leave the table. Then Suo gets close to Kuze and asks if he has thought about joining the student council. Kuze replies that he has no intention of joining. Suo reminds him that if he joins, he will get to work with her and Alya. Then Suo tells Alya that she was the president and Kuze was the vice president in the past. Kuze explains that he only joined because Suo asked him, as in their school, the student council president and vice president had to team up. So he had no choice but to help. After hearing this, Alya says that she has known about that for a long time in Russian, and then angrily drinks her soup. After Suo leaves, Alya tells Kuze that she is surprised to know that he has a female friend. Kuze wonders why she's surprised, and when Alya asks what he means, Kuze explains that she is also his female friend. Then Alya asks if they are friends, but Kuze questions back if they are not, and Alya replies yes, they are. Then she walks ahead. Kuze asks where she's going, and Alya informs him that she is heading to the student council room. Meanwhile, at night, Kuze dreams about a past moment when he was playing with a Russian girl. They watched the sunset and talked in Russian. But just as the girl is about to kiss him, he wakes up. He recalls how he studied Russian so hard because he wanted to talk to her, but now he does not even remember her name. The next day, Kuze goes to school early and cleans the classroom. When Alya arrives, he greets her with a good morning, and she responds the same. He explains that he woke up early and had nothing to do, so he decided to clean the classroom. Alya says that it must be a rare day since he woke up early. Kuze ignores the joke and compliments her on how good her Japanese is. Suddenly, Kuze notices Alya's dirty socks and asks what happened. Alya explains that they got wet from a splash caused by a passing truck, but she considers it her fault for walking too close to the road. She reassures him that it's okay since she has spare socks. Then she asks Kuze if he and Suo were both on the student council in middle school. When Kuze says yes, she asks if he is planning to join the student council now. Kuze gets curious about why she's asking, so he tries to avoid the question. However, Alya insists for an answer, and Kuze finally tells her that he's not planning to join the student council. After that, Alya suddenly takes off her socks, which surprises Kuze. He quickly tries to look away, but Alya notices and playfully asks him to bring her spare socks from her locker, mentioning that she can't walk since she's already taken her socks off. Kuze agrees and brings them for her. When he returns, Alya asks him to help her put the socks on. This shocks Kuze, and he questions why she is asking him to do it. Alya replies that it is a reward for him for bringing her socks. Kuze hesitates and says that such a request is usually reserved for a special group of people. Alya teases him by asking if he considers it a reward, and he reluctantly admits that he does. Then she quietly says that this is also a reward for her in Russian. After hearing this, Kuze wonders why Alya uses Russian to hide her true feelings, and thinks that she might be teasing him on purpose. Alya sees him confused and asks what's wrong. Kuze replies he was just thinking about what she said. Alya quickly covers up by saying that she called him a wimp, then tells him to forget it, and that she will put the socks on herself. But this time, Kuze gets serious and grabs her leg. As he starts putting the socks on her feet, his hand accidentally slips and touches a place that he shouldn't have. Alya gets shocked and kicks him in the face, and then walks away. After realizing he messed up, Kuze wonders what to do next. After some time, Kuze stops Alya, and she asks him what he wants. Kuze struggles to find the right words. Then Alya calls him a pervert with a foot fetish in Russian. Kuze asks if she can forgive him now. Alya replies that she's not angry anymore and even apologizes for kicking him. She asks if he's okay, and Kuze says yes, though she seems unsure and moves closer to check his neck. Kuze quickly steps back and insists that it doesn't hurt at all. Suddenly, he thanks her for showing him something good. Alya gets shocked and realizes that he might have seen her underwear. Kuze confirms this by thanking her again for showing him something so beautiful. Alya gets furious and punches him in the face. She then calls him a fool in Russian. To calm her down, Kuze asks her to take pity on his neck. He starts chasing after her and apologizes for going too far, but Alya angrily tells him to shut up and stop following her. Kuze suggests they sit and talk, but Alya replies that she has nothing to say. Then, she suddenly jumps over a wall, and Kuze realizes how athletic she is. After 10 minutes, both Kuze and Alya get tired, so they sit down to rest on some stairs. Kuze asks Alya if she's okay, and she replies that she would not be in this condition if he had not chased her. Kuze agrees and apologizes, but then Alya says it's her fault as well. Then, Kuze offers her a can of red bean soup. Alya suspiciously asks what he wants. Kuze sweetly replies that he hopes it can be a small token of his apology. Alya tells him not to be so dramatic, but takes the soup, mentioning that she's only accepting it because she's thirsty. Then, Alya asks in Russian if he wants a drink. Kuze is shocked and wonders if she means an indirect kiss, and if saying yes would mean he can kiss her indirectly. To avoid the situation, he pretends not to understand and asks her what she said. Alya quickly covers up by saying she meant that after exercising, they should drink something sweet. Kuze replies that usually people drink something cold after exercising. Alya then gives a playful smile and says in Russian that he doesn't know anything. But inside, Kuze is screaming that he understands everything. After a while, Kuze arrives at the supply room, and Suo gets happy to see him. When Kuze asks her why she called him there, Suo gets a bit upset and scolds him, saying that he should apologize for making her wait. Kuze does apologize, but in a teasing way, and Suo cutely admits that she was waiting for him. Just then, Alya arrives and says that they seem too close. Kuze gets surprised to see Alya, but Alya tells him that she was there the whole time and apologizes for bothering him. Kuze says it's okay, but thinks she's being a jerk. Then Kuze asks Suo if she wants him to tidy up the supply room, and she agrees. After seeing how well Kuze works, Suo praises him and says she knew he was good at this. She then asks him to bring down a board game from a high shelf, and Kuze brings it, and Suo thanks him. Kuze gets curious to see the card games, so Suo explains that they plan to use them at the school festival and that she played them at the recent student council party. When Kuze asks who won, Suo jokingly says she thought he would guess that she won. But then Alya interferes and tells them to go back to work. Suo apologizes and returns to work, but Alya starts feeling ignored, so she asks Kuze to pay attention to her in Russian. Kuze gets shocked, but Alya keeps insisting that he talk to her in Russian, which makes him more anxious. After they finish their work, both girls thank Kuze for his help. Just then, a senior student named Kenzaki, who is the president of the student council, arrives and asks if they are done. Suo says yes and mentions that Kuze helped them. Kenzaki compliments Kuze by mentioning that he has heard about his talents. Kuze thanks him and realizes that Kenzaki has a leader-like presence. As Kuze starts to leave, Kenzaki stops him and offers a treat to Kuze since he helped them. Kuze politely declines Kenzaki's offer and thanks him for the kindness. Suo then teases Kuze by reminding him that there's no dinner at home, so it's a good offer. Kenzaki asks Suo how she knows so much about Kuzai's family, and she replies that it's because they are childhood friends. Kenzaki says that's perfect and invites Suo and Alya to join them. Both agree, but Kuzai is a bit surprised. They all go to a restaurant, where Kenzaki praises them for finishing the work quickly. But Suo gives the credit to Kuzai and then mentions that Kuzai is amazing at both manual work and paperwork, and he is also good at negotiating. Kuzai feels flattered but a bit embarrassed as well. Kenzaki points out that it's rare for Suo to praise someone and then asks Kuzai to join the student council. Kuzai apologizes and explains that he did not want to join because he had a hard time in middle school. Kenzaki tells him that while the workload in high school is heavier, it's worth the effort, and it could even help with his grades. However, Kuzai thinks that he is not motivated or ambitious. Then Suo tells him to reconsider and join the student council with her, mentioning that they can run for the president post together. But Kuzai declines and asks her not to force him. Then Kenzaki mentions that Alya is also planning to participate in the student council president election. Kuzai is shocked and asks Alya if she is really participating. Alya confirms that she is and says that she is competing against Suo next year. After that, they finish their meal and leave the restaurant. Outside, all three thank Kenzaki for the meal. Kenzaki then says that he and Suo are going in the opposite direction, so he asks Kuzai to walk with Alya. After Kenzaki and Suo leave, Alya tells Kuzai that he doesn't have to walk with her, but Kuzai insists, and they walk together. As they walk, Kuzai asks Alya if she is really participating in the student council president election, and Alya confirms it. After that, they reach a spot where Alya thanks him for walking her home. They both then head to their own homes. When Kuzai arrives at his apartment, he notices a pair of girls' shoes at the entrance. When he enters, Suo welcomes him. Kuzai asks why she's there, and Suo replies that she's staying over for the night. Kuzai reminds her that he didn't tell her that she could. Then Suo starts reading a novel where she reads about a hero and heroine walking together, and she guesses that they must be siblings. She wonders why the heroine didn't realize this. But then Kuzai points out that Suo has no right to say that, since she's the one who insists on setting up childhood pals in school. Then Suo argues that it's not a setup and asks Kuzai if he even knows what a childhood pal is. Kuzai answers that it's someone who's been a friend since childhood. Suo quickly agrees and says that siblings are actually childhood friends. She says that childhood friends, otaku friends, or even real sisters can all coexist. But Kuzai finds her logic ridiculous. Suo insists that it's just a metaphorical explanation. Then she looks back at the novel and says that the heroine and the man are actually siblings. Kuzai agrees, but then Suo reveals that they kissed, which shocks Kuzai. Suo thinks the novel is going to be a masterpiece, but Kuzai suggests that logically, the hero and heroine must not be blood-related siblings. Suo grabs his neck and says that real siblings would make the story even better. The next morning, Suo wakes up Kuzai by sitting on him and says, "Good morning, brother," but Kuzai thinks that his morning is ruined because of her. Suo then tells him that this is a typical little sister's move of waking up her brother, and he should be happy about it. Kuzai asks her not to wake him up like that and says it's just DV. Suo misunderstands that DV means Dear Venus, but Kuzai corrects her, saying it means domestic violence. Hearing this, Suo calls him hopeless and teases that next time she will hide under his bed to grab his leg when he gets up. Kuzai asks her what she wants and to get off. Suo teasingly asks if he has a boner, to which Kuzai responds, "Go to hell." Later, they go to a mall and see a movie poster. Suo gets excited and suggests watching the movie, but Kuzai refuses and tells her not to buy tickets without permission. They then go to a clothing store, where Suo checks out a dress. Kuzai is shocked to see that the little dress costs 15,000 yuan. Suo explains that women's clothing often costs a lot for just a piece of fabric. Meanwhile, Alya is secretly watching them from behind. However, Suo has already noticed Alya. She informs Kuzai that Alya appeared right after they came to this floor. Kuzai is surprised that Alya has been following them for so long and mentions that he is impressed by Suo's observation skills. Suo says she has a high-performance sensor and can sense the gaze of someone she knows. But Kuzai teases her by asking if she feels embarrassed while saying that, and surprisingly, Suo confidently admits she is. As Kuzai is thinking about what to do next, he realizes that Suo has already approached Alya. They both go over to Alya, who is still in a hiding position and feels anxious when she sees them. Kuzai greets her, saying, "What a coincidence." Then Alya steps out and replies that it really is a coincidence. She explains that she just noticed them, but could not find the right moment to talk to them. Suo asks Alya what brings her to the mall, and Alya replies that she's there to buy some clothes. Suo then asks if Alya has had lunch, to which Alya denies. Suo invites her to join them for lunch, but this surprises Kuze. He asks Suo if she is really planning to take Alya to that place. Suo asks why she shouldn't. Kuze suggests that if Alya is coming along, they should eat somewhere else. Alya asks Kuze what the problem is, but he stays silent. Then Suo asks Alya if she likes spicy food, and Alya replies that she likes it. Suo explains that they are going to a restaurant that specializes in making extra spicy ramen and invites Alya to join them if she doesn't mind spicy food. Kuze warns Alya that it's not just spicy but extremely spicy, but Alya quickly agrees to go. When they arrive at the restaurant, Alya is shocked to see that the restaurant is named Hell's Cauldron. She wonders if it's really for ramen, but Suo assures her that it is and encourages her to go inside. Kuze warns Alya again not to go in, but Alya questions back why not. Inside the restaurant, Alya looks at the menu and is confused by the dish names. Then Suo explains that Blood Pond Hell is the basic ramen with a red soup base, and is also the least spicy option. Alya asks about Infinite Hell. Suo tells her that it's so spicy that it will make her feel numb. Kuze decides to order Blood Pond Hell as it's better to start with something basic, and both girls show interest in ordering the same. While waiting for their ramen, Alya notices Suo's clothes and asks why she's dressed in a boyish style. Suo explains that it's a holiday, so she's trying out a new style. Then, Suo teases Alya by saying that she was lying in bed with Kuze. Kuze gets shocked, and Alya wonders if they were lying in bed together. Suo says yes and mentions that she wanted to wear something different, so Kuze lent her his shirt. Alya is shocked and asks Kuze what's going on. Kuze quickly clarifies that it's not like that. He explains that Suo just walked into his house, went into his room without asking, and then climbed into his bed. But Alya finds it hard to believe. Just then, a waiter arrives and serves them their ramen. Alya is shocked when she sees the Blood Pond Hell ramen. Suo suggests they start eating before it gets cold, and Alya nervously agrees. She stares at the ramen with fear, but quickly grabs her chopsticks and takes a bite. Almost immediately, she feels the intense spiciness. Seeing her reaction, Kuze asks if she's okay, but Alya lies and says it's delicious. They keep eating, but after a while, Alya mutters in Russian that her mouth is hurting. Kuze tells her not to force herself to eat more, but Alya insists that it's delicious, even though Kuze knows she's in pain. Then Alya says in Russian that she can't eat anymore. Kuze is about to stop her, but Suo interrupts and asks Alya if she's enjoying the meal. Alya says yes and claims it's delicious. Then Suo offers Alya to add some demon's tears to her ramen to make it even spicier. Suddenly, Kuze notices Suo's expression, and he instantly realizes that she is doing this on purpose. Alya agrees to add demon's tears, but Kuze warns her not to. However, Alya insists that just one drop will not hurt. She adds a drop of demon's tears to her ramen, but as soon as she takes a bite, the intense spiciness overwhelms her, and she screams loudly. Later, they go outside to a nearby park, where Kuze asks Alya if she's okay, but Alya asks where Suo is. Kuze explains that Suo wanted to buy something, so she ran off. Then Kuze notices an ice cream truck nearby and asks Alya if she would like some. Alya instantly agrees, and after eating the ice cream, she feels much better. Kuze then asks Alya why she wants to run for student council president. Alya replies that if there's room for improvement, she feels she has to go for it. Kuze asks if she has found someone to team up with, but Alya says she doesn't need a vice president. But then Kuze reminds her that she will need someone, as it's required. Alya replies that she will find someone when the time comes. She then expresses in Russian that she wants Kuze to join her. Hearing this, Kuze recalls a moment from the past. After eating ice cream, Alya asks Kuze if he has any plans. He says he doesn't. Then she asks about Suo, and Kuze replies that they can meet her later. Alya then asks if he can go shopping with her. Kuze asks if she's planning to buy clothes, and Alya agrees. Then Kuze tells her that letting a guy choose clothes for a girl is something couples usually do. However, he instantly realizes that since Alya doesn't have friends to go shopping with, she might not know this. After thinking about it, Kuze agrees to go with her. Alya asks why he changed his mind, and Kuze says they are friends after all. but Alya feels like something isn't right. Then they go to a clothing store, and while looking at dresses, Alya wonders why Kuze is being so nice to her. She starts to think that maybe he is being kind because he doesn't believe that she can become the student council president. This thought angers Alya, so she fills a bucket with clothes to try on. She goes into the changing room and tells Kuze to let her know what he thinks of each outfit. Inside, she decides to do her best to make Kuze blush. She tries on a dress and shows it to Kuze. He praises her and even calls her cute. Alya is shocked and realizes that she just received a compliment. However, Kuze feels embarrassed and wonders how he can say these things so confidently. Inside, Alya gets excited because Kuze called her cute. She is impressed and starts trying on more dresses, including a boyish style, just to see Kuze's reaction. Each time, Kuze compliments her, which makes Alya even more excited. Finally, Alya puts on a bold dress, but when she opens the curtain to show Kuze, she is shocked and embarrassed to see Suo standing there. Suo is also surprised by Alya's bold outfit. Alya closes the curtain and says in Russian that she wants to disappear. Suo gets curious and asks what she said. Kuze explains that Alya said she wanted to disappear. After that, they get on the train, and Alya is still shocked by what happened earlier. When Kuze stands up to leave, Suo tells Alya that she had fun shopping with her and suggests that they should go again sometime. Then Kuze and Suo get off at the station. As the train continues, Alya starts thinking about the dress incident, but suddenly realizes that Kuze and Suo got off at the same stop. She is shocked and wonders what that could mean. After a while, Alya enters her apartment, where her older sister Masha greets her. Masha notices that Alya seems upset and asks her if something happened. Alya tells her nothing is wrong, but Masha doesn't believe her and insists she tell her what's bothering her. Alya still says nothing happened but mentions that she met Kuze and his childhood friend today. Masha then teases Alya by saying that she always gets a little pouty when she talks about Kuze, and then mentions that it looks like someone has finally captured Alya's heart. Alya gets surprised and asks Masha what she means. Then Masha asks Alya if she likes Kuze, but Alya says they are just friends. Masha then questions Alya why she became friends with Kuze, especially since Alya usually dislikes people who are unserious or do things half-heartedly. In a flashback to 6 years ago, when Alya is in Vladivostok, her teacher asks the students to form groups and divide tasks to investigate nearby shops. She also promises an excellence award for the best group. Alya is excited and forms a group with 2 boys and 1 girl. She is responsible for visiting the florist and butcher shops, while the others visit different stores like clothing shops. Alya agrees and decides to do her best. She goes to the flower and butcher shops and makes a report. But the next day at school, when she asks her group members about their work, one boy admits that he hasn't done his part yet. Alya is shocked and asks him why he hasn't done his part. The boy replies that they still have a week left, so it is fine. But Alya gets angry and says it is not fine. She asks them why they aren't taking it seriously, but this questioning leads to a fight between them. The teacher arrives and stops the argument. After that, Alya decides to work on the project alone. When the teacher announces the results later, the Excellence Award goes to another group. Alya gets shocked, and on her way home, she wonders why others don't take things as seriously as she does. She realizes that it is her fault for expecting too much from others and tearfully decides to do everything by herself from then on. A few years later, Alya transfers to a new school, where a girl asks her if she really passed the difficult transfer exam. Alya agrees, and then a boy asks if she lived in Japan before, since her Japanese is so good. Alya agrees and says that she lived in Japan for 5 years. After that, they leave, but Alya notices that Kuze is still sleeping despite the noisy surroundings. She wakes him up by reminding him that class is starting. Kuze stands up and asks Alya if she is the transfer student who spoke at the entrance ceremony. Alya agrees and introduces herself. Then Kuze introduces himself too. After that, Kuze notices Hikaru and says he is also in this class. Hikaru replies that he has always been there and mentions that Takeshi is in this class too. Alya then starts noticing Kuze's habits, like forgetting his textbook at home, being lazy during workouts, and falling asleep in math class. Seeing Kuze sleeping, Alya wonders if prestigious schools also have lazy students like him. A few days later, the school festival is announced, and the haunted house theme is decided for their class. While other students are worried about how they will get everything done in time, Alya is busy working hard stitching a dress. As school ends, two girls approach Alya and ask if she is going home. Alya replies that she is not, as she still has work to do. The two girls leave, but Alya overhears them gossiping about how they aren't taking the festival seriously, which makes her feel sad. This makes Alya think about how things feel the same as in the past. But then she accidentally hurts her finger. She decides not to give up and to keep working hard, even if she has to do it alone. Just then, Kuze arrives and notices that Alya is still there. Alya asks why he is still at school. Kuze replies that something has come up, and he tells Alya that she should go home, mentioning that they could work on the task together tomorrow. But Alya tells him not to worry, as she will finish the work and go home afterward. Then, Kuze informs her that he has asked the handicraft club for help with making the costumes, and shows her a permit for using the boarding house. Alya asks how he got it. Kuze explains that he asked the former president for help and used her connections. He also mentions that the handicraft club agreed to help if he lent them some boys. And now he is confident the boys will help once he tells them. It is a good chance to show the girls how reliable they are. Then he asks Alya to go home for today and says there is no point in working so hard on her own. Hearing this, Alya gets angry and asks Kuze what he means. She tells him that if she is going to participate in something, she wants to create something excellent, not something half-baked. She doesn't want to compromise on her work. Alya then asks how she is wrong for caring for her work when others don't. Kuze tells her that she is just working in the wrong direction, and then explains that the school festival isn't something to do alone, as it is something everyone should do together. He says that if Alya wants to make something excellent, she should motivate everyone to think that way too. Kuze mentions that others might get upset with her approach, but then apologizes for saying that. Alya then leaves, telling Kuze she is going home. Kuze says okay and thanks her for her hard work. As Alya walks home, she wonders what Kuze meant. When the day of the school festival arrives, everyone works together, and their class performs so well that they win an award. That night, all the students participate in a folk dance on the playground. When Alya arrives, Kuze notices her and praises her work. He mentions that the school is really old-fashioned when it comes to after-party traditions. Alya asks if she can sit next to him, and Kuze agrees. He then asks if she is not dancing and jokes that she must be popular with the boys. He also asks if she doesn't know how to do folk dance. Alya finds this rude and tells him that she can easily learn such a simple dance since she did ballet as a child. She further explains that she used the excuse of not knowing this dance to turn down everyone's invitations. Kuze thinks that must be tough for her, but Alya replies that she is used to it. Kuze understands and says that's why people call her the solitary princess. Alya asks him what he means by that, and Kuze explains that other students call her by that nickname. Kuze notices Alya's expression and asks if she is unhappy about it. Alya admits that she might be. Kuze then asks if it is because the name suggests she has no friends. Alya tells him that's not it, but asks him not to use such a negative tone. Kuze apologizes, and Alya explains that she doesn't like being called a princess because it makes her sound like a fairy tale character who knows no hardships. Hearing this, Kuze wonders how Alya interprets the nickname. Alya then says that in terms of appearance and talent, she might be more gifted than others, but she never thought of relying on those things, and she doesn't like it either. Kuze understands and promises not to call her solitary princess anymore. Alya thanks him, but Kuze is confused and asks why. Alya explains that she was wrong to think that she should do everything alone, as if she had. She would not have been able to enjoy the school festival like she did now. Kuze tells her not to worry about it and reminds her that all he did was help with the paperwork. Alya then asks Kuze if he wants something as a token of gratitude for her past behavior. Kuze thinks for a moment and asks if, in Russia, people have a habit of calling each other by special nicknames. Alya agrees and says her family calls her Alya. Kuze then says all he wants is to call her by that nickname. Alya asks how that counts as a token of gratitude. Kuze replies that since everyone in class looks up to her, if he becomes the only guy who can call her by her nickname, it will make him very happy. Alya asks if he's being silly, but Kuze just thanks her with a smile. Just then, 3 students approach Alya and each asks her to dance with him, but Alya says no. The boys keep insisting, but Alya still refuses. At that moment, Kuze steps in, grabs Alya's hand, and then tells the boys that she already has plans with him. Then he takes Alya to the folk dance area, while Alya feels shy. Kuze asks Alya if she was serious when she said that she could learn the folk dance by watching. Alya agrees, and Kuze asks if he can see her dance now. Alya confidently replies, "Bring it on." The next day, Kuze is sleeping in class, and when he wakes up, he notices Alya looking at him. He asks her what is wrong since she is staring at him like he is trash. Alya calls him a scumbag, and Kuze says that's too harsh. Back to the present, Alya finishes telling the story, and Masha asks if she has fallen in love with Kuze, but Alya denies it. Masha mentions that the story sounded like they were falling for each other. Alya asks her not to describe it that way and reminds her that they are just friends. Masha then says that going from friends to lovers is common, just like what happened with her and Sa. Alya hesitates, but admits that she could consider it since Kuze is capable and trustworthy. The next morning, Kuze visits the student council office, where Kenzaki thanks him for coming, but Kuze tells him not to worry since he is just there for Suo. Then, Masha introduces herself to Kuze and informs him that she's Alya's older sister and the student council secretary. She says it is nice to meet him, and Kuze also greets her. Kuze mentions that Alya has been a great help to him, and then asks Masha if he was supposed to go shopping with her. Masha agrees and tells Kuze that if Alya is his friend, then she is his friend too, and Kuze shyly agrees. Suddenly, Masha grabs Kuze's hand and asks for his name again. When Kuze tells her his name, Masha seems shocked. Kuze asks if something is wrong. Masha apologizes and explains that she is just surprised that this is Alya's friend and gets distracted. Then, Masha says, "Let's go" in Russian. Although Kuze understands it, he still asks her what she just said. Masha replies that she said, "Let's go." After that, they went to a shop. Masha asks Kuze if they should buy a diffuser, but Kuze says no as he thinks that it will not be a good idea for the student council office. Then, Masha notices a kitty toy and grabs it, thinking it looked just like Alya. Kuze watches in shock. Masha then suggests that they pick a few dolls that resemble the student council members and display them, but Kuze is not convinced as he thinks that the president will not approve of it. Masha shows him a doll, and Kuze says that the resemblance is uncanny. They look at several dolls but eventually decide not to buy any for the council. However, Masha still buys the kitty doll for herself. As they leave the shop, Kuze wonders if Masha always behaves this way. When they reach another shop, Masha tells Kuze that this is the one they are visiting next. Then Masha gives the Alya kitty to Kuze and other items that she is carrying. She notices that Kuze looks good holding it, so she tries to take a photo. Kuze quickly says no and covers the camera with the shopping bag. Then they enter the tea store, where Masha picks up a black tea sample to try. She asks Kuze to taste it, but he tells her that he doesn't know much about black tea. Suddenly, Kuze remembers a moment from his past when his parents separated. He chose to stay with his father, but Suo, who was sick at the time, ended up staying with their mother. Masha notices that Kuze is lost in thought, so she asks him if something is wrong. Kuze replies that it is nothing. Masha then gently places her hand on his face and mentions that he looks like he is in pain. She gives him a caring hug, and Kuze feels a strange but familiar sensation. However, the moment gets ruined when Kuze realizes that Masha's hot black tea is touching his back. He starts screaming and informs Masha about it, but the tea eventually spills on him. Masha and Kuze come back from shopping, and Kenzaki welcomes them and says thank you. He tells Masha she is holding something amazing. Masha asks if it's cute, and he says it's cute, but asks her if she is thinking of putting it in the student council office. Masha asks for permission, but he directly refuses. Kuze then shows the supplies they bought to Kenzaki, and Kenzaki is glad to see the supplies. He thanks Kuze for his help. As if Masha had gone shopping alone, he wonders what would have happened. Kuze thinks that the student council office would have turned into a dreamland. Kenzaki asks Kuze if he still doesn't want to join the student council, but Kuze replies that he doesn't mind helping once in a while. Masha suggests at least putting his name on the member list, and Kenzaki also agrees with her decision. Kuze doesn't agree with them and asks Kenzaki why he wants him to join the student council. Instead of answering, Kenzaki asks why he doesn't want to join, as hard work can't be the only reason. Kuze tells him that he doesn't want to be cut out as the student council member. Kenzaki tells him that he has achieved a lot as a vice president in junior high. But Kuze says that's the reason he's not a good fit. Kuze says he didn't fight for the position for some grand purpose. Kenzaki reveals that he became the president because he wanted the girl he likes. And that's more impure than Kuze's motive. Kuze gets surprised to know that. Kenzaki shows him a picture of himself when he was in 9th grade. where he was bad at both academics and sports. Seeing the picture, Kuze is surprised as Kenzaki has changed a lot. Kenzaki says 2 years ago he fell in love with one of the beauties of his grade, even though they are not compatible. And that's none other than the current vice president, Chizaki Sarashina. Kenzaki says that to become worthy of her, he went all out to change himself, and taking the presidency is also part of his plan. Kenzaki explains to Kuze that motive doesn't matter and says Masha joined the student council only because Chisaki invited her. Masha says that she is interested in the council too, and she agrees with Kenzaki that motive doesn't matter as long as you are leaving a good track record, whether the cause is friendship or love. She says as a student council member, as long as he organizes various activities for students, it will be fine. Kenzaki tells Kuze that he achieved a lot as a vice president with Suo, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. Kuze has a flashback when Suo tells him to stay by her side forever, and he says it's too much hassle for him. But she tells him, isn't he her brother? Kenzaki says joining the council to make someone president is the best thing he can do and assures him no one will criticize him. Kuze says he will think about it, and Kenzaki says to think about it carefully. Then Kuze asks about where Alya is. Kenzaki tells Kuze that she went to settle the dispute between the soccer and baseball clubs. During this period, the baseball team uses the field frequently to prepare for the annual competition, but the soccer club is joining the regional preliminary this year, and the soccer club wants the baseball club to vacate the field. Kuze asks if Alya went to mediate that. Kenzaki agrees and says neither club wants to give in. He says Chizaki usually handles club dispute matters, but she is busy with the kendo club today. So he sent Alya for her experience, but it's not easy. Kuze takes his leave as he is going to check if the clubs are fighting. The soccer club suggests the baseball club players to play at their home ground, while the baseball club says they have been practicing every year and the field was booked a long time ago. The soccer club says their game is just a friendly match. Alya tries to calm them down, saying criticizing each other is pointless. One of the soccer club members asks her if she has any alternatives, and she suggests using the riverbank nearby as an alternative practice field. The soccer club members tell the baseball club members to use the field at the riverbank, but the baseball club asks them to use it instead. However, they say the school field's condition is better. Both club members are speaking, but their captains remain silent. The soccer club says they have more members than the baseball club, and travel time is also an issue. Both clubs start arguing, and Alya knows no one will hear her as she can't move people's hearts. She has a flashback where she realizes the outcome was bad because she had expectations from others. So she decided to do everything alone, knowing no one would follow her. Alya thinks it's her mistake, as she always looks down on others and pushes them away. This is the price she has to pay for being alone. And now no one is listening to her. She can't help but cry for help in Russian. Meanwhile, Kuze comes in and apologizes for interrupting their discussion and introduces himself as the General Affairs Officer from the Student Council. A few moments earlier, Kuze came to check only to find both clubs arguing with each other. He hears both sides arguing and knows starting a new discussion could help. He feels sorry for Alya, but it's an experience for her. He is about to leave, but hears Alya crying out for help in Russian. Kuze stops and thinks that's why she is always alone, as she is crying for help in a way that no one can understand. Back to the present, as he steps in, some recognize him as the vice president in junior high. Kuze tells them that he was sent by the president. He asks if they are arguing over the distribution of the school field and riverbank field, to which the baseball captain confirms it. He proposes his plan considering the number of people moving. He suggests the baseball club practice at the riverbank, and in exchange, the soccer club, with more members, has to send someone to the baseball club for support. The baseball club disagrees initially, asking why they are the only ones being pushed to the riverbank field. And then both clubs start arguing. Kuze keeps his eyes on the soccer club's manager, who soon agrees to support the baseball club, and the baseball members agree after hearing that. The soccer club shows some attitude, but their manager tells them to be patient as they are being allowed to use the school field. Both captains agree, and the dispute gets resolved. Kuze says they should come to the student council office tomorrow to fill out the application forms. As Kuze and Alya are on their way to the student council office, Kuze apologizes to Alya for interfering and asks if he embarrassed her. Alya replies he didn't and asks why he proposed that plan, as from her perspective, the baseball club wasn't going to accept it. and she thinks that Kuze knew the manager would say yes. Kuze is impressed that she noticed it. She says she could tell because when the baseball club was protesting, she noticed Kuze staring at the senior. Kuze tells her that the senior is dating the captain of the baseball club, which surprises Alya. Kuze also says that the baseball club captain and the soccer club manager are a couple, and when they confirmed their relationship, it surprised everyone. That's why the baseball club captain remained silent during the argument, as he was concerned about his girlfriend because he couldn't mix business and pleasure, while his girlfriend felt awkward because she knew the soccer club was being unreasonable. That's why Kuze knew if he proposed the plan, she would definitely go with it. Also, the baseball club would be happy being supported by cute girls, while the soccer club would be happy having control of the school field. He also mentions that those two can overcome club barriers and would be able to go on dates during practice, which is a win-win situation for everyone. Suddenly, Kuze notices Kenzaki and wonders why the president is there. Kenzaki asks if the negotiation went well. Kuze agrees, and Alya says it's all thanks to Kuze, to which Kenzaki appreciates Alya. Kuze asks Kenzaki if it was all according to his plan, and at first, Kenzaki doesn't admit it, but eventually, he does. Kenzaki asks Kuze if he has made up his mind, and Kuze says he wants to be a member of the student council. Kenzaki says he looks forward to working with him and asks him to come with him to the office without delay. It's already evening, and Kuze and Alya are walking home. Kuze is thinking that he has fallen into the president's trap as Kenzaki was in such a hurry to fill out his form for student council membership. Alya asks Kuze if he really wants to join the student council president election with Suo. Instead of answering, Kuze tells her, what if he says yes, and asks will she give up on the election. But she says she's going to become the student council president and mentions she is not going to give up even if he is her opponent. Kuze knows she is always like this and says he will help her become the student council president. He says he will support her by her side and give his hand to join. Alya wipes her tears and grabs his hand with a smile. Kuze says he will be in her care from now on. Alya says thanks and confesses in Russian that she likes him. Kuze's heartbeat goes up hearing that, and he gets a flashback from his childhood. He is happy that he still feels like this. Alya squeezes his hand and asks if he is thinking about another woman, and he says how does she know? He realizes he said something that a rom-com protagonist should never do. However, Alya asks if he is thinking about Suo after he said he will support her, but he says he is not thinking about her. Alya then gets angry and slaps his cheek, saying if he wants to be forgiven, he must accept the slap. Kuze falls on the ground but says it's a nice slap. Alya calls him an idiot and gives him a hand to stand up. As they walk home, Kuze reveals that this is his first time getting slapped by a girl, and his experience as a man is further increased. Alya asks if he hit his head when falling, but he says there's nothing abnormal with his brain. Alya says he doesn't have a proper brain to start with. Kuze tells her he is a genius who was once known as a prodigy, but Alya didn't seem convinced at all. Alya asks Kuze if his cheek is fine or if he needs a cold compress, but he says it's fine, although he can't feel his left cheek. Alya understands he isn't fine, but Kuze says he is just joking and it's just a little numb. Out of nowhere, Alya gives Kuze a cheek kiss, and Kuze gets shocked. Alya then takes her leave, and Kuze waits to see if she answers him in Russian, but he didn't get an answer. At home, Alya is lying on her bed in shame of what she said to him in Russian. She tries to convince herself that she doesn't like Kuze, and she was just carried away by the atmosphere. She also thinks that if it is true, she has to take many steps back. And even if she likes Kuze, she still has something important to do, which is to become the student council president. She is confused about whether to live up to that expectation or put this matter aside. She wonders if she confesses to Kuze that she likes him, Kuze will reject her. She gets embarrassed and says that she also doesn't like him. Alya hears someone open the door and comes outside to check. Masha has just arrived, and Alya welcomes her and asks if something had happened. Masha says something good happened, and she had a wonderful encounter. She shows her the Alya kitty and says it looks just like her. Masha then tells Alya that Kuze is a good boy, and she understands why she has fallen for him. But Alya denies it and says that she doesn't like him. Masha understands she is not honest with her words, but praises her cuteness. Masha suggests she confess her feelings as soon as possible, as it will be too late if someone snatches him away. Alya wonders what Masha is talking about. And that's the end of the video. Please comment and let me know if you want a recap of the next episode of this anime. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, goodbye.